Hi, Mark here from the Tangent-Bound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangent-Bound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangent-Bound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangentBoundNetwork.com and see if Tangent-Bound Network is right for you.
This is a Danger Entertainment podcast. DangerEntertainment.net. Danger Entertainment Podcast Network.
Do you ever wonder when Spider-Man goes to the bathroom if the toilet paper sticks to his fingers?
Do you ever wonder why Superman wears his underwear outside of his pants?
My name is Imran.
My name is Anthony.
He's the Jock!
And he's the Nerd.
And we're your hosts for the Jock and Nerd podcast, where we sometimes try to attempt to answer these questions.
This is a full spoiler podcast, and we swear a lot.
Check it out for awesome geek news, interviews, and comic book reviews. Visit jockandnerd.com. We are your superhero TV, movies, and comic book culture curators.
Boom.
Jockandnerd.com. Jock and Nerd!
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out and try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to The Crazy Life, everybody. My name is Jen, and I am your hostess for the evening. And with me, as always, we have Brian. Hey, Brian.
Howdy.
Henno, unfortunately, could not join us tonight. Big old poopy head work decided they needed him. So,
Yeah.
what are you going to do?
Yep. It's all right. I'm sure he'll be super excited to lead us off next week.
Absolutely. I don't think he still owes us like 2 or 3, doesn't he?
I don't think he's ever not allowed to
Lead us off.
Yeah. Pretty sure it's his job going forward now. So.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, that being said, so Brian, do you want to lead us off?
Yeah, I can. This week's been really weird for me. There's been days where I've been productive, and there's been a couple just, like yesterday was just a stinker of a day. I woke up yesterday morning and I don't know if it was something I had and had an allergic reaction to or whatever it was, but I was just itching all over, basically, like my face, my chest. And I'm guessing it's probably the dermatitis that I have, coupled with my anxiety, you know? But
Yeah.
I just could not get myself to calm down and couldn't get it to stop. So, I took some Benadryl and, woke up a little while later and I was still itching. So I took more Benadryl, basically. So I spent most of yesterday just sleeping or groggy. So it was just a complete just waste of a day, because it wasn't even good sleep. It was that, had been knocked out by medication sleep and whatever. So, yeah, that was bleh.
Did you hear they have a non-drowsy one now?
Benadryl?
Yeah.
No,
so
I
I don't
didn't.
know if it works
No.
or not, but
No, I'll have to try it.
just so you know.
I mean, on one hand, it didn't bother me a lot because if I'm sleeping, then generally I'm not going to be itching,
Right, exactly.
But yeah, like through the second time I had to take it would have been nice to have some non-drowsy, so that I could have, it's kind of like NyQuil, versus DayQuil. It's nice to have something that won't knock you on the floor, for the average day. But yeah, I got some stuff done, but not as much as I wanted to, and it's just, I don't know, it's just one of those weeks where it just felt like it was weird, and I felt overwhelmed because I just, every time I was trying to get move forward, something was like keeping me, in place, basically. And it was just frustrating because I just, just felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. But overall, I mean, it wasn't bad. Nothing bad happened or anything like that. It was just, excuse me, it was just really frustrating and stuff. So, yeah, and my anxiety's been running pretty high the last few days. And I think it's, me putting the pressure on myself to get stuff done and kind of seeing like, I didn't get anything that I wanted to get done yesterday. I didn't get very much done today. And then, we have this to record. Tony and I didn't get to record Friday or across the weekend, so we're probably recording tomorrow. So, plus I'll be in, I got to go out of town to get my testosterone shot and stuff. So, it's like that whole day is going to be gone, basically. And it's just, it's, like I said, it's just, I keep looking at it and it's just like, like I just want to, be able to get back on task.
And you will. You just gotta be patient and give it time and one foot in front of the other and all that good jazz.
Right, and that's what I've been doing, but it's still, how it is. It's just sometimes you just hit that point where you kind of just feel like throwing yourself on the floor and kicking and screaming for a few minutes, and
I know that well.
Yeah, so I've kind of had a couple of those moments this week, but I haven't actually done that, but I've just had a couple of moments where it sure seemed like a good idea. So yeah, that's about it though. I don't really have anything, major to discuss. Like, because like I said, my weekend was really boring, so I just haven't done a whole lot this week.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, my week has been fairly uneventful. It's been very good, solid week. It's kind of different with Hubs being back at work. So, being home by myself at night, I'm adjusting pretty well. It's kind of nice. I podcast 2 of the nights, so that makes that go by fairly quick.
Yeah, that'll help.
Yeah, so that'll help. And then the other 2 nights, not gonna lie, my Twitter friends help out a lot, because I'll just jump on Twitter, and if I'm feeling a little bit lonely, and it helps to kind of make things work.
Yeah.
I've been struggling a bit with perspective, though, and I'm not quite sure why. I don't know if the root cause, I should say, more than why. I'm wondering if my life is getting too small again.
Yeah.
And maybe I need to, open it up and expand out more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not 100% sure exactly where it's coming from, so I'm trying to be very cognizant of it and really pay attention to what I say when I say it, because I'm finding myself losing perspective, getting fixated on things, and then speaking from that moment instead of taking the big picture into account, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
So instead of taking a step back, taking the big picture, framing my response and responding, I'm more shooting off the cuff when I'm in that middle of that moment of being microscopic and not taking everything else into consideration. So I'm really trying to make sure I'm keeping focus on the perspective and framing things in a way that to help others understand, so that it comes across more thoughtful and less crazy.
Right.
Sometimes when I'm in the midst of my, things, when I'm fixating on things and I'm taking a look at all the minutia and all the little tiny little its and bits and who said what's and that's and that and the others, when I get lost in all of that, that's where I can lose myself in it, and I can start speaking, and that's where a lot of drama comes from, a lot of misunderstanding can come from all of that, versus just taking a deep breath, stepping away, getting the whole picture, the big picture of everything that's involved in the situation, then speaking from that situation. It's just a healthier, much better place to be.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I've been working on. The other thing that happened this weekend is I am very cautious by nature, and my husband is not very cautious by nature. And we went to a family reunion that was in a metro park.
Yeah.
And he wanted to bring the dogs. So I agreed. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. We can bring the dogs. So we brought the dogs, and I made sure that we set a little bit away from everybody. The dogs are on leashes, trying to keep them calm and happy and all that good jazz. Well, there's 3 little girls running around, probably between 7 and 10 years old. My dogs are pit mixes, so they're about 50 pounds apiece is what they weigh. These girls are maybe 50 pounds apiece, but
yeah,
those little tiny girls. They wanted to play with the dogs really badly. My anxiety goes through the roof. Not because I don't trust my dogs. It's because I love my dogs, and I think they're super, super friendly and super, super nice. But they are 50-pound dogs.
Right.
And 50-pound little girls.
Yeah. Well, the worst part about them is that they're 50-pound dogs who don't understand that they're 50-pound dogs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They just want to kiss and give you licks and give you hugs. Like Otis will stand on his hind legs and put his front paws on you to give you hugs.
Yeah.
So you can't do that with a little 7-year-old little girl. He will knock her over.
Right.
And so, they wanted to walk the dogs and they wanted to play with the dogs. And I'm like, okay. And, my husband's all for it. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's great. Sure, let's go play with the dogs. And I told the little girls, I'm like, oh, okay, if you're holding the dogs, if they run, you hold on to them, of course. But if they run and they're starting to pull you off your feet, let go.
Right.
Don't let them drag you.
Yeah, right.
And they're like, okay, no problem. We understand. I said, because they don't mean to, but they may hurt you, and that I don't want to see anyone get hurt. And they're like, yeah, absolutely, we get it. I'm like, okay, so we're all on the same page. So I gave him the dogs, and Hubs decides to toss the ball just a little bit, not very far. My Molly takes off running, takes a little girl with her.
Oh, jeez.
thankfully, the little girl was laughing her butt off as she's getting dragged through the grass.
Well, that's
And I'm
good.
sure
Yeah.
grass
Jeez.
stains and whatnot.
Yeah.
And she did let go after a minute, thankfully,
Yeah.
as my heart jumps into my to my stomach, then up to my head, and basically bounces all around my body like a pinball. Anxiety through the roof. Because in my mind, all I can see is this child is going to have a dislocated shoulder, a broken arm.
Yeah.
But no, she was perfectly fine. All the girls were fine. I think one of them got a little tiny scratch on her hand because one of the dogs was jumping for something.
Oh, yeah.
And so she got a little tiny scratch. But, I mean, she's like, oh, I'm fine. I know that happens with doggies sometimes. And, so, I mean,
good.
she had a really great understanding of animals. So her parents did a great job at explaining things to her.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I know she didn't mean to hurt me. And it just was one of those things that happens. And so, I mean, it was really a great experience for the dogs and for the girls, and for us. I may have gotten a few gray hairs from the whole thing, but it was another lesson that I know that my anxiety can get the best of me. It was just yet another kind of example of that it's not illogical because all of my fears were founded in some logic.
Yeah.
But did I take them fears too far? Probably. If it was up to me, would those girls would have not had the ability to walk the dogs?
Yeah.
Probably. I probably wouldn't have let they could sit and pet them, but that was about all I would ever let the girls do.
Yeah.
The dogs would have missed out. The girls would have missed out. It would have, been less of an experience for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look back on that, I'm like, okay, I can kind of see how maybe I need to live a little bit more.
Yeah.
And maybe be a little bit, and kind of pigeonhole back into kind of what I was even saying earlier about broadening my world again and broadening my perspective. Maybe getting myself out there and doing a little bit more and kind of pushing myself out into the world a little bit more might be a good idea.
Yeah. That's understandable, though. I mean, like your worries here were, like you said, they weren't unfounded at all, and you don't know, because you never know, like, no matter how well you know your dog, you don't know those kids,
Right.
So you don't know what they could do something that the dog interprets as aggressive and turn and snap at them, or you just don't know. I'm not saying your dogs would. It's just who knows,
right.
Because I mean, no matter how nice any dog is at any time, they're still an animal. Like you can't logic.
Yeah, you can't logic to them.
Yeah, you can't. Hey, they didn't mean anything by that. And like you said, and you don't know how good the kids are with the dogs, so you kind of, I can understand being scared of that, because plus, like you said, the whole letting them walk them, and it's like, look, the dog probably weighs at least as much as you. If it wants to pull you, it's going to pull you, like, because even if you weigh the same, those dogs are strong. They're so strong.
Absolutely, they're little beasts, and I love them to death.
Yeah.
But they'll pull me off my feet.
Oh yeah, like I said, when Tony got Belle originally, or Tony and Jeannie got Belle, it was like, I remember like being outside with him, and she was pulling him, and I mean, he was like both arms kind of pulling her back, and it was taking everything he had because she wanted to go.
Absolutely. If they want something, it's tough to hold them back.
Yeah, that's
really
why
is.
the advice you gave them is, good advice, which is, if they go to pull you, let go. Don't get dragged.
Yep, like a wicked drag.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, it's like crashing on a motorcycle or something, or an ATV. If you realize you're going to crash, the best thing you can do is push the thing away from you, like so it doesn't land on you, basically, And same with this. If the dog decides it's going to run, well, let it run. Just
Just let them run.
Let them
'Cause
run. Yep.
We've got enough control over our dogs that even if they were off leash, like nobody had their leashes, if
Yeah.
we whistled and called for them,
Yeah.
they'd come back.
Right.
Especially to my husband,
Which is
because
good.
he's got a deeper voice
Right.
and respond better to him.
Mhm.
They'll come to me, but as soon as he whistles, they'll say, "Oh, okay, we gotta go. We gotta go."
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm glad it worked out the way it did. Because the worst case scenario there would be that it works out exactly like your fears, had predicted, essentially. And then you're like, oh, man, I knew I shouldn't have, And then next time you're going to be even more cautious. It recedes,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm glad it worked out fine.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, like I said, the dogs had an amazing time, and so did those girls. Those girls just adored them.
Yeah.
And it was a really wonderful experience all the way around for everybody, including me. It was a great experience for me to see the dogs in that atmosphere and stuff, and recognize, kind of within myself that, maybe I'm a little bit of an overprotective mama. So need to back off a little bit.
And the one part of that we haven't really talked about either too is the, given the breed of the dog, I can understand being a little extra cautious because so many people are so quick to blame,
Yes.
Or call them aggressive or blame this and that. And a lot of places have, like a no tolerance policy for, if that anything pit related, bites anyone or anything like that. So I'm, there's so many reasons there. I'm glad that it turned out the way it did. And, also, like I said, that's a tough scenario because it is really, if you had reacted the way you did and stood your ground on that, I could have just as easily been like, hey, I understand, it's different if it's an adult, because they're making a decision to do whatever but like with a kid, they don't necessarily know how strong the dogs are or whatever. Plus then, something did happen, you get, it could just turn into a huge mess and stuff. So I understand.
Yeah. So, but it was good. And that was a pretty good end cap to my week. That was on Saturday, and then Sunday I, hibernated, which is not a surprise. So I knew that was coming. Sunday's a good hibernation day for me.
Yeah.
So got all that taken care of. So with that, I have the article for the week. So we will go into this. It is about my favorite word. Well, my second favorite word. My first favorite word is shenanigans. Second favorite word is choice. Choosing and choice. I believe personally that everything in life we have a choice for. Now, that being said, I'm going to throw this out there because I know you guys are all thinking it. You can't choose happiness. I know you can't choose happiness. You're 100% right. You cannot choose a feeling. I wish we could, but you can't. So can't choose feelings. They're nouns, not options, not actions. You can choose to be more positive. You can choose to see things in a different perspective. So you do have options. But yes, you cannot choose to be happy.
Yeah.
So, going into the article, I'm just going to kind of jump around a little bit because they have some highlighted parts. The first highlighted part here is I can choose how closely I pay attention to my thoughts and how I respond to what I feel. Even if hours go by, days, years, it's never too late to make a different choice. So, I love this because I can choose to how I respond to what I feel. We've talked about this before, and so sorry, folks, if we're repeating ourselves a bit here, but you cannot choose your feelings, as we've mentioned and just discussed. You can choose your actions, though. And it's so important to remember that. Because more often than not, when we're in the midst of a very strong feeling, be it happy, sad, angry, frustrated, all of the different options we have out there when it comes to feelings, when you're in the midst of it, it's so easy to just go with it, and just respond off the top of your head, and just a lot of times make things even worse because you're in that mode, you're projecting that mode onto somebody else, they're picking up on it, the words are echoing the mood that you're in, and it just becomes a really big, big, big deal. And it may not have needed to be.
Right.
Maybe you could take a step back, look at things a little differently, gather other people's opinions and other people's thoughts about the situation, get your perspective before you jumping into it. And it's never too late to make a different choice. So that kind of speaks to, and I kind of wish Hanno was here because he could even talk a little bit about this, but it kind of speaks to making amends. And yes, you can't change how someone's going to react to you changing and making different choices. You can't control them, but you can control you. And if you've made a different choice than what you did in the past, and you've decided that you want to make a different choice now, you can do that. There's absolutely nothing wrong. In fact, there's a lot right with learning from your mistakes and making different choices.
Mm-hmm. Well, not to mention, in a different kind of context is, a lot of people feel stuck in whatever it is their scenario is, and, we've touched on this before about how, figure out what it is that makes you feel stuck or what you think would change that feeling, and then just do everything within your power to, work toward that, to, that just because you're stuck doesn't mean that you can't choose to try to be working your way out of whatever, scenario you're in. Just because you're stuck now doesn't mean you're stuck forever. That basically, even though a lot of people feel that way. And that's probably one of the biggest places where people feel that, choice goes out the window. It's like, well, I got bills to pay, I have this, and,
I guarantee you, and I'll throw it out there, I've thrown it out there many times before, and I'll keep throwing it out there, there is yet to be a scenario where you don't have a choice. You may not like your choices. They may all be absolutely horrific choices, but you always have a choice. You have control. So, never forget that. Be the raptor, folks. The raptor, I believe it's the raptor anyways. The raptor, when it's enclosed and it's trying to find a way out, it hits a different point of the fence. And it keeps looking, and it keeps hitting different parts of the fence until all of a sudden it finds that hole, that gap, that weakness, that point where it can escape and it can be free and do its own thing. Be that raptor. Search for your way out.
Yeah.
All right. Next one. When I remember the power of my intention, no matter how long it takes me, I come back home to myself with deepened perspective and goodwill. My choices soften the anger, fear, and sorrow that I once felt. Remembering my power to choose restores the gentleness to my steps and my words. I see a completely new world around me. A lot of this speaks to perspective and seeing things differently. And intention is a really powerful, powerful word, and it's a great word. When you're having emotional reactions to things, think to your intention. Keep in mind what we've talked about on here before. Stuff like, does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said right now? That all speaks to your intention and what in the perspective and gaining perspective on that situation.
Yeah.
You know, something else, somebody posted on Twitter, what's the difference between defending someone and being a bully yourself? And my response back was intention. If you're intending to hurt that other person, you're being a bully. If you're intending on remedying the situation, then you're being you're defending them.
Yeah.
You know, and it's all about that intention. When you cross that line and your intention changes into something else than you intended to begin with, then you know that's too far. You got to dial it back, gain perspective, gain some, you know, put your intention where it needs to be, where you want it to be, and then you can move forward.
Yeah, that becomes tough on the internet because so many people, you know, they feel that their intention is to defend someone, you know, but it's like, okay, well, you know, there is also a thing that it's like, if one person says something to someone else, how many people before it no longer is a defense and it becomes, like you said, you know, then it becomes just a counter-bullying, essentially. And, you know, like the old, you know, two wrongs don't make a right scenario, you know, like you're no better than the person who bullied if you bully. It doesn't, you know, you might think so because your reason for bullying is coming from a higher ground, but it's still, in the end, you're still, you know, still being a bully to someone.
Exactly. And it's where the words come from, you know. It's called a low blow for a reason. You know, if someone makes you're having a conversation about, all right, let's say politics, and it gets heated, and all of a sudden you start making comments that are not politic related, that are more your mama and things along those lines.
Yeah.
That is no longer, your intent is no longer to inform someone of your opinion or defend your position.
Yeah.
You are now crossed that line over there. Your intent is to hurt.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it's tough to see that, for sure. When you're in the middle of the moment, it's absolutely tough to see that.
Well, and like you said before, you know, when you're in the middle of an emotion, you know, like when you're in the middle of feeling a certain emotion, it's tough to pull logic, you know.
Absolutely. All right. There's always something you can choose. So choose soothing, however you're able to. Choose to look for things to feel good about. And if nothing else, choose to be as intentional as you can. Always with acceptance for the always with acceptance for the part of you that forgets. So, yes, you're going to forget. Yes, you're going to lose yourself in emotion. Yes, it's going to get out of control sometimes, because we all do. And it's part of human nature, and it's part of being human. It's part of being you. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That being said, try to choose to be intentional about what you do, about what you say. Try to choose to be positive, and try to choose the options that suit your life the best, that propel you forward the easiest.
Yeah.
So, how are we going to do this? First step is begin with yourself. Start with, you have your beating heart, your breath, your hands, your eyes reading these words. You have the power to choose. The power to choose to keep breathing. You have the power to choose to read words. You have powers to choose health and happiness. Power to choose the path to health and path to happiness. The new story, anything that resonates with you. So, dedicate these moments and these ideas in touch with yourself, and dedicate yourself to the intention that you want and what you want best for yourself, and keep growing towards those goals and towards that perspective that you want.
Yeah, exactly. Like like I'd said earlier, you know, just keep trying to work towards whatever goal it is. No matter what it is, just always try to be working toward that goal.
So next, you're going to focus on your loved ones. I tell my husband, it was part of my vows, I choose you. And part of it is from a Simpsons cartoon where Lisa gives Ralph a Valentine because he didn't have any. And it says, I choose you. And it had a little choo-choo train on it.
Yep.
And he thought it was the funniest thing ever and just fell head over heels for Lisa. And it always struck me as I thought it was so sweet. Just the thought of choosing, I choose you.
Yeah.
And how special that moment is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it was part of my wedding vows. But also a cognitive moment that I make every morning. I choose to be in this relationship. I choose him as my husband. I have to consciously every day continue to choose him.
Yeah.
The day that I don't choose him, the day I need to start moving on with my life in another direction.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a choice that I have. But it's not, love is wonderful, romance is amazing, but if you don't take time out to choose the people that you have in your life, and you let people come and go in and out of your life, and you don't make cognitive efforts and choices to keep them or to maybe distance yourself from them, that's where a lot of chaos and stuff happens. Make those deliberate choices as to who you want to surround yourself with, who you want to choose to be in your life. And make sure they understand that you are choosing them, that this is something that you want them. This is a special gift that you and them are experiencing together.
Yeah.
This choice to be in this relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship, a friendship, a siblingship, all of those relationships we have with each other, go through them in your mind and make these choices. Choose to be with them, choose to have them in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense because when you're, like you said, by choosing who's around you, that gives you, those are the kind of things where you can help make the decisions about being happier and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Because, if someone's toxic to you and you choose to not have them in your life anymore, that can, push you a little closer towards, being happier or whatever. And, those things are important. So, definitely, and same there. It's, I've seen and heard people make comments about, oh, well, I can't not talk to them, their family, or they're this, and it's like, no, like, if they're toxic, you just because you're related to somebody doesn't mean you have to have them in your life. There are plenty of people out there who don't have someone in their life because, it's just for the best. And, if that's the scenario you're in, then that's fine too. I'm not saying take it lightly or be cold about it, but it is like, like you said, Jen, it is a choice. You may not like it, but sometimes, like you watch Intervention and you see these people basically telling them on there, like, if you continue to do this, I can't be part of your life, and you can tell it breaks their heart. It's not what they want to do, but they have to do it because that's just where they are in their journey, So, yeah, it's just, choose scenarios when you can that make you happier or more content. Choose people around you that do the same thing, and like I said earlier, if there's something that, like a job where it's like, look, I can't just quit, it's like, well, try to, do whatever you can to either improve your situation or to change your situation,
Mm-hmm.
Just exercise your choices when you can, basically,
Yeah, and that's the thing. You may not be able to choose to quit your job, but you can choose to continue looking for a job.
Yeah.
You can choose to have a conversation with your manager about the parts of your job that you don't like and what you could do to make them better. You can choose to have a different perspective walking into that work day and say, instead of saying, I hate being here, reframe it in your mind and saying, you know what? I need to be here because I love my children, or I love my house and I need what I need.
Like Homer Simpson, going back to a Simpsons reference, that episode where they find out about, they do the flashback to Marge finding out she's pregnant with Maggie, and Homer having to quit his dream job of being a pin monkey at a bowling alley, and he has to go back to the nuclear power plant, and at the end he looks at a board that has there's a plaque that says "You're here forever," and he has put pictures of Maggie over it that says like "Do it for her," and it's like that exact kind of a thing is like, I don't want to be here, but I'm doing it for her, kind of a thing. So it's
and it's still a choice, You do have the choice to quit.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's the easy choice. Doesn't mean it's the right choice.
Or the smart choice. Yeah. Exactly.
It is a choice. Yep. Giving up is a choice. Do I recommend it? Absolutely do not recommend it.
Right.
Do not make that choice.
Yeah.
But it's still a choice.
Yeah.
Do it with, make your choices deliberately and thoughtfully and for the betterment of you and your surroundings in your life.
Yeah.
Now, your power to choose can be extended. So start with you, then go to your loved ones, then extend it out to the world. Dedicate every step you take crossing the street to the well-being of all passerbys. When you're in your car and you're driving, be deliberate about it. Don't go on autopilot. Pay attention to what's people around you and stuff. Let somebody in that's trying to get in the flow of traffic. Back off just a little bit. Let them in. Smile. Wave.
Yeah.
All of these things are deliberate choices and deliberate acts that can make your day better and their day better. And for gosh sakes, people, if someone lets you in, wave at them, please. It's just courtesy. It's nice.
Yeah.
I feel like Leo Biscaglia. It's just nice, people.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's true, though. It's just please and thank you goes a long way with people. It always has. It always will. Because it turns somebody where somebody will do something nice for you, and then you just ignore them or don't say thank you or whatever. And even though when you do something, you shouldn't do it to expect those things, but at the same time, essentially it feeds our selfishness because we want validation that we did good.
Pat me on my head,
yeah,
please.
Exactly.
Give me my cookie.
Yeah.
I deserve it.
Right.
And by all means, and I am all for feminism and equal everything and all that good jazz. I firmly believe in it and support it 100%. I do not support being a jerk. A guy got up the other day and on the airplane offered to help a lady get her bag down that she was struggling with. She took offense and said, "No, don't touch my bag," and almost yelled at him for offering assistance. That's being a jerk. He was trying to be nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would have made the same offer if there was a young man standing there. I would assume that he would. I don't know him. I can't say.
Yeah.
But I can say he was coming from a point of his intent was good. His intent was not to put the person down. It was not to offend the woman by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
He was just trying to be a good guy.
Yeah.
And
it's similar to the kind of people who won't ask someone to help them financially or whatever because I can do it. And it's like, yeah, what? Like it's Heno made a great point about it. when he was talking about his parents. You know, when his parents want to buy him and Sharon something, and at first they were no, you know, and it's like they're like, no, like why struggle if we can help you and we want to help you, you know? And I kind of, like you were saying, it's like that's just kind of how I see things, you know. I mean, if I see somebody struggling with something, I help. Not this time, but the last time I went to the store, there was an older guy trying to get, you know, a big case of water into his cart and was struggling with it. And I walked over and I was like, "Do you need help with that?" And he was like, "Would you mind?" And I just slung 2 of them into his cart, you know. And it's like, it's just, I saw the guy struggling. Yeah, he could have gotten him in there, but why struggle if somebody can help you? And, you know, if someone's willing, it's different if, you know, like if you were just standing there like, will someone help me already? You know, like, but you know, I know he didn't ask me for it, and I'm not saying he's less of a man or, you know, weak by any means. I just happened to see that he was struggling, and I was like, well, here, let me help you, you know, that's it, you know? So but I also, you know, I understand both sides of it, you know, I get it, but at the same time, it's like you said, it's like, I just feel like most of the time you feel like, but I can understand where a lot of women don't want guys to do stuff for them because there's a lot of jerk guys out there that want something in return, you know, that will feel as though they deserve something because they did something. And not just guys, but I mean anybody, but I understand a lot of women have that issue with guys. I totally get it because I've seen it, you know. Like if a guy buys someone a drink, you know, like that scenario. But at the same time, like you said, it's like, you know, this guy, you know, he's probably coming from a place of just wanting to help. Or maybe you're in his way, or it's like, let me just get you out of the way.
If you want to, like, someone wants to buy you a drink, and you don't really want the drink, or you don't want them spending money on you because you don't want to have that expectation.
Yeah.
You can still choose to be nice and say, thank you, but I'm really okay with my drink.
Yeah.
But if you'd like to sit for a minute, we can talk.
Yeah.
You know, which maybe you don't want to talk to them.
Right.
It happens.
Which is also fine. Yeah.
Just also fine. And you just say, thank you. I really appreciate that offer, but no, I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know, so there's nice ways to handle it, and there's all of these are different choices that we can make.
Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite analogies, stories, however you want to call it, for lack of better words, because I don't want to be religious per se, because, well, whatever. But so we'll say there's 2 places. There's a good place and a not so good place. In both places, there's a long table with people sitting at the table and food, plenty of food in the middle of the table. And they're all sitting there, and they all have really long forks. The not so good place, people are trying to feed themselves with these long forks, and they can't get it to work because the forks are too long for them to fit in their mouths. No matter how they tried, they could not figure out how to get this to work, so they couldn't feed themselves, and they all end up starving. The good place, people figured out that they didn't need to feed themselves. If they fed the person from across the table, the forks worked just perfectly. So, you know, and I always loved that story because it just is another reminder to myself that some days, change your perspective. You know, if you don't like the situation you're in, change your perspective.
Yeah.
Look at it from different directions. And B, we're not alone. We may feel alone. We may feel isolated. We may feel that there's no choices, but there's always choices. Yeah. There's always things and people and places and all these choices that we have in front of us if we just look for them and try to see them.
Yeah, you know, my mom was telling me that on Facebook, somebody she follows just kept posting, you know, negative post after negative post, and a lot of it's political, but some of it isn't, and you know, and it's one of those scenarios where it's sad because you start, like, I think of me, years ago, to where everything I was posting was like that, and looking at, how you get so far down that tunnel that's all you can see is negative. You just cannot, and you don't even realize you're doing it. That's just your perspective at that point, And, so she finally said something to him. It was like, hey, everything you post is negative. Like, if they responded, well, we're fed up and, just this and this. And she goes, then take that energy and do something good to make someone else's life better. She's like, if you really hate the way things are, do what you can to improve the world, And I loved that, a few years ago, I forgot who it was, I was reading something, and it was, they made a comment about, you don't have to change the world, just change what you can change, basically. Like, you by yourself are not going to change the world generally, so just make the little changes you can, because those things rub off on people. I know it seems hokey, but I know there was a commercial where they showed that. I can't remember what it was for, but it shows like one person doing something nice for somebody, and they kept paying it forward essentially throughout like a day. And, it is amazing how often you see that happen. You hold the door for somebody, and then you see them hold the door for somebody, like it makes you, and maybe you don't know if they would have otherwise, who knows? And just little things like that. And that's, and I think, you can't choose to be happy, but you can choose things like this, like the people my mom was talking to. They can choose to stop posting that negativity. They can go, hey, there's a lot of things I don't agree with, there's blah, 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 but I'm not going to feed it. I'm not going to share this rhetoric. I'm going to combat it by, I'm going to post things that are funny or fun or good stories about people, and I'm going to, do things to help others, rather than just keep spreading hate, which doesn't make the scenario any better.
It doesn't.
Like I said, all it does is feed the beast.
Yep. I think that's the thing that we get caught up on, and no one is going to, quote unquote, teach somebody else a lesson. Especially if you have your opinion, someone else has their opinion. Negativity and anger and all of that is not going to encourage someone to change their behavior and make them think about things differently.
Not usually. I mean, yeah, it can, but
very seldom does that ever work, and it's very unpleasant all the way around.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about like hot button issues and stuff like that. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, so you're much better off and you're much more likely to make an impact by doing the positive things and hoping that people seeing you lead by example, they will do similar actions.
Right.
It just works better, and it's a much friendlier, better atmosphere for everyone.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you got to take care of you first. And if it's not enhancing your life, if it's not making your life better, making you feel better, making you want to be a better person, helping you become a better person, then get rid of them, get rid of the situation, get rid of whatever you need to, make those choices. Because that's what it's all about, is getting yourself to the best you possible so that you can give a view to your family, to your loved ones, and give them the best you possible.
Yeah, I agree. That's the best you can do. It's just always, I think it's just it's like the 10% better concept, like just in life, just try to be 10% better than you were yesterday, and even if you fall short, that's fine, but that's your goal, is like each day, just be better. And like I said, it's just, and I say every week on the show, like choose kindness when you can, and again, when you're feeling bad, that's one of the things that, so many people have cited for something that makes them feel better is doing something good for someone else or what have you. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy, just, even, how many times, like, even the places that'll be like, oh, would you like to give $1 for this or whatever? And when you do, for some reason, you feel good, even though really you've, not really done anything, but you feel good because you made that sacrifice of $1, and it's, I don't know. I'm just, you're right. The whole choice thing comes down to, really, it's your perspective, because everything that life throws at you, you could look at least two different ways. You can look at the why does everything happen to me scenario, or you can go, look at it from the how can I grow and learn from this scenario. And it's tough. I mean, it's not like anybody on this podcast is doing it 100%,
Got that right.
We all do it. So
Again, just as negative as everybody else does, for sure.
Well, I led the show off talking about how I just wanted to basically have a hissy fit. So
I don't wanna is it's one of my favorite phrases. I don't wanna.
Yep.
I want to do this. I don't want to do that.
Yep.
I don't want to. Yeah, I can throw a hissy fit is better than a 2-year-old. Let me tell you.
Yeah, that's but in the end, that doesn't. I mean, I don't know. I've said on here before, and I still stand by this. Sometimes you just have to. Sometimes you just gotta have that hissy fit for a little bit, and then go okay, and then put your big kid pants back on and get back after it. But
absolutely. Have your moments, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to be human. It's okay to be, to be flawed and to make mistakes, and that's why you can choose and choose again, and choose again, and choose again.
Yep.
And eventually, you'll make the right choice for you.
Yeah. It's exactly. As you were saying, choose and choose again. I was picturing those, like the Choose Your Own Adventure books, and
yes.
And I don't know why, but it took me into, two things. They're very related, which was, there was an episode of Family Guy where Peter is reading one of those, and he does something, and he goes, oh no, and then he turns the page back, and he goes, I never took my thumb off of it, Lois, and he's like, I never took, and she's like, I know,
Another decision.
Yeah, and and it's interesting because when you look at that from like a life context, it's like you said earlier, there's times in life where you have to take your thumb off the page or your thumb off the chess piece, if you will, like, hey, you made your play, like.
Yep.
So, and if it doesn't turn out the way you hoped, well, change the way you would approach it next time, or,
yeah,
choose differently.
You gotta. Sometimes you gotta sit in it. I made some choices for the last few years. In different jobs that I've had and stuff. I made very strategic choices and very good choices, I thought. Some of them did not turn out to be as great as I was thinking that they were going to be.
Yeah.
I couldn't change it immediately, but I sat in it and I waited and I saw opportunities, and that I took those opportunities when they came across me. So, it's not going to be instantaneous. Some choices can't be made overnight and just immediately happen. Some choices have to take time.
Yeah. Well, like I had said about, like if you feel stuck in a job for sake of argument, you may not be able to quit today, but maybe, maybe if you're in a position to where you can bank a few dollars out of each check, at a certain point you go, I've got enough to where I can not work for 3 months and I've got money. Or whatever, like that gives me enough time to not be miserable and to find a job, or keep looking the whole time, whatever it is, just do those little things that end up working toward, okay, now I can make a change, now I can put that choice that I want to make into play, and yeah, I also always feeling like you have a choice, even if they're not the best choices, blah, blah, blah. It kind of helps with, so you don't lose hope.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, because feeling hopeless is awful. You know, definitely. I mean, I think everybody's probably been there at some point in their life, but, you know, those of us with depression or whatever, you know, maybe a little more so, but, you know, it's a hope is a powerful thing for a lot of people. You know, it really is. No matter what it is, even if, you know, it's the. I'm just making references left and right tonight, like in Dumb and Dumber. So you're telling me there's a chance, you know, like just that little shred of hope is enough for some people to live on, you know. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you're having a hard time with perspective, or you're having a hard time seeing the choices that you have in front of you, feel free to reach out. Feel free to contact me. The best way is through Twitter. Shoot me a direct message, and we'll talk about it, and I'll help you. I'm pretty good at seeing choices, and sometimes it just needs another person's eyes on it to kind of figure things out. So I'd be more than happy to talk to anybody. So, how do you reach us? You can reach the show at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com. That's our website. The Crazy Life Podcast at outlook.com is our email address. You can reach me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. And you can hear more from me on my other podcast, which is Shake the Sheets at shaketheSheets.com. It is a pop culture talk podcast. And you, Brian, how can they reach you?
You can also reach this show on Twitter at the Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes go up. You can find Henno on Twitter at Ida Henno. You can find him on Facebook at Henno Heiter. His other podcasts, Moving the Needle, they just put a new episode up this week, I don't know. Anyway, they just put up a new episode recently. It's a bi-weekly podcast where they talk about a variety of things. Usually it's like entertainment related, books, movies, music. I know their last one, I believe, was cover songs that they talked about. But you can find them on Twitter at MTN Pod. So definitely go check them out too. You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find my other podcast at salty_language or at saltylanguage.com. That show is very not safe for work, so please be careful who you're listening to it around, or, you know, earbuds in, whatever. And we just talk about kind of pop culture, whatever just news stories, kind of whatever comes across our radar and strikes us as either funny or weird or just whatever. There really is no rhyme or reason to it a lot of times, so we just enjoyed, you know, being goofy together. What else am I forgetting here? Oh, we're part of the Danger Entertainment Network, which can be found at dangerentertainment.net. And we're also part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. So please go check out those networks. So I'm sure there's probably some other shows you'll dig there or not. I don't know. In case you didn't know, you can find us on Spotify. Same with my other show. I think, I don't know, did you guys submit to Spotify too?
Yeah, we're on Spotify.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Moving the Needle is too. So, yeah, just search for the different shows on Spotify. Or if you need links, hit me up and I can get links to you. And, as usual, I would say please, if you feel that you need help, please reach out to someone. Like Jen said, even if it's just for a perspective check, you know, there's support groups you can go to that'll help with that. You know, don't discount therapy for this kind of stuff. You know, a lot of people don't, I think, understand the full reach of what therapy can be for people. You know, it isn't just about lying on a couch and talking about your childhood. You know, like, there's a whole lot of things that you can talk about in there and get helped with. You know, or even for, like, perspective stuff, you know, life coaches can help with that. You know, I know people who've had good success that way too. So
But, even if it's just a friend or somebody, like Jen said, you just need somebody who's outside the forest, to be able to see everything clearly, maybe help you out a little bit. So please reach out. Also reach out to your friends if you know they're going through a hard time. Or if you haven't talked to them in a while, just make sure they're doing okay and everything along those lines. And as we've already said on here, when you can, choose kindness, and just make little choices throughout your day and stuff to, just whenever you can exercise it, just do it, and help brighten someone else's day, and you'll feel better in the process too. So, win-win.
So we're going to go out on a Stuart Smalley moment, and I choose you guys, and I'm glad that you choose us too. So go out there and have a great, fabulous week.